Welcome back, everyone, to Morning Line. Nick Barris here, along with Professor Thomas Schwartz from Vanderbilt, and we're talking the election. We were just discussing some of the most recent developments, as you know, what's happened over the last week or so with the new emails and some of the polling out there, and what's happening and where the two candidates are going and how that looks. We got some phone calls, Professor, so let's start things off with Deborah. Deborah, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Deborah.
Nick, I wanted to talk to you about you always telling people that there's no tampering of the vote. There's been tampering of the vote for history, a long time in history, and now it's reached a new level. Today's tampering is data-driven, and that's a paradox because Obama made it to the presidency based on data. We have gerrymandering. We have the no party affiliation independents being denied a vote in the primary. We have manipulation of voting hours and voting days. We have voter ID laws that were enacted at a record-breaking pace, and we know government doesn't work that quickly. We have superdelegates. It's no longer one man, one vote. And then we have a presidential family dynasty candidate advising voters to sit this one out. Well, that was data-driven too. These slim margins that we see at 50-50 allow for tweaking the vote to make all the difference these days. So people are working hard and fervently to work things in their favor. And unfortunately, the American people today have been reduced to a walking, talking binary code. And that's both parties that are doing that.
I'll tell you what, she brings up an interesting point. A lot of people hear voter fraud and they think, oh, someone's sneaking in to vote twice or doing something, you know, to tamper with the machine. But what she's referring to, and I understand where she's going, everything from like the whole idea of redistricting to hours to maybe. Now, what do you think of all of that? I mean, that kind of goes on now. Is that jury? I mean, is that election rigging, or is that just politics?
Yes. Well, some of what she was describing has long history. I mean, gerrymandering goes back to the 19th century, the rearrangement of districts in order to maximize your vote in total and your party's ability. Denying votes to people who are independent in primaries, that's also something that varies by state, but also goes on. A number of, and voter ID laws, that's something that has been used to discriminate in the past. And so there are all sorts of ways. I mean, early voting itself is a new development, so was designed to maximize the number of people who could vote. And even the fact we have the election on a Tuesday on a work day could be seen. Many European countries make sure it's on a weekend so that people have the opportunity to vote. There are everything she was saying, I think, does apply to issues of our democracy. There probably is no perfect system. I think even within that, I think you still get more or less the people's will. Someone will be unhappy. There is always some degree of unhappiness in this, and I think we probably have to work to try and drive up or encourage more democratic practices across the board. But certainly the point she was making apply to the electoral process here.
But everyone takes advantage of it. I mean, some people have this vision, it may be of some like James Bond Spectre organization behind the scenes that's really decided who is going to win, and they find a way behind the scenes to make it happen. And I don't know that there's some dark, shadowy group that does that. Now, there may be some dark, shadowy individuals in some of the big parties that try to work and get this going, right?
Well, if you're a historian, you tend to have a very strong reaction to conspiracy theories, because you know the messiness. Actually, when you study the messiness of the past, you realize no one's in charge, and it's really very difficult to actually manipulate and control things like elections and other things. So I tend to be skeptical of that. But that doesn't mean that I don't recognize that in the American past, particularly in the South, for example, during the Jim Crow era, when the voter suppression was used to control white privilege. So we've had certainly cases of that, but in the overall look at the past, it's very hard to believe in conspiracies or secret forces trying to control elections.
Let's go next to Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Morning, Nick.
Good morning, Cindy. What's on your mind?
Well, you know, all I got to say is I don't know how anybody could vote for Hillary Clinton when she's under FBI investigation. And another thing, what I'm really disgusted with is what she said in Fort Lauderdale at her speech. calling all the Trump supporters. Now it got worse, from deplorable to, what do you call it, irredeemable, to now that we're nothing but troublemakers and everything else. Well, I called y'all up and told y'all I got cop reports where my Donald Trump signs and my Blue Lives Matter sign keeps getting torn apart, so I got to patch them all back up. But I'm sick of this, and it's her people, and do not ever in your life blame it on the Trump supporter, because we don't go around and hurt nobody. And stay off my yard.
Yeah. Well, it's too bad when you see people getting their signs torn up like that. If that's true, you put a police report out there, set up one of those little cameras and catch whoever's doing it in the process of that. I think both candidates would say they don't advocate their supporters going out and tearing people's signs down at any level anyway. So, but there's a woman that's supporting Trump. You know, I've asked her before, and she, for whatever reason, just likes his policies, how it goes, but there's a woman.
Well, I don't think women in any sense are a monolithic voting bloc.
Yeah, no, not at
it's
all.
really at the margins that you're looking at any larger election.
All right, let's go next to Joe. Hi, Joe.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Joe. What's on your mind?
Oh, just listen to the professor and some of your calls.
Yeah.
The professor had it right. For one thing, Donald Trump is a one-man show. His favorite person is himself. But I'm not really happy with either candidate, to be honest with you. But this has turned into, to me, to be a clown show, because the FBI director, you got to know, is a Republican. And I can tell you one thing: if Hillary Clinton was to get elected, he'll be looking for a job. This is unprecedented for an FBI director to come out 2 weeks before an election, a bunch of crap like this, and then say, well, I don't know if we're going to make a decision on it to maybe after the election's over with. So anybody can't see that. It's not very, they need to get them some glasses or something, but I don't know. It's as far as signs goes and newspaper endorsing candidates, I agree with Professor 100%. People not paying much attention to that anymore, and they just listen to the news. And if you listen to Fox News, you're gonna get the Republican side. If you listen to some of the other stations, you're gonna get the other side. So, I just, to me, things are just in disarray. As far as Giuliani and some of these guys, I mean, they waited. They made sure that Trump was going to be the candidate before they ever come out for him. Before that, there's all against him. But so they're just looking for jobs. What they're looking for, if he was to get elected, they're looking for an appointment of some sort. So it's just typical politics. You can't believe about half what you hear.
Yeah, they jump on the winning party and try to get something out of you. Maybe right, but I'll say it's Chris Christie real early on. I think he was one of the first.
He was one of the first.
Real early on, broke ranks and went ahead and sided with Donald Trump, and seeing what it was. Yeah. As far as the FBI Commissioner Comey, what he's talking about there about politics, you saw the president come out and say he didn't think the FBI did this to try to influence the election. I'm wondering where you think the president was coming from on that. And I'm still not clear. It sounded like there was a lot of dialogue behind the scenes, wasn't there? Before he made this decision, he touched bases with the Attorney General, and he had promised Congress he would let them know if something came up, but he could have waited at least until he knew if there was anything, in there that was really worth making a fuss about. For all we know, these are just goofy emails. Why they were on Andrew Weiner's computer, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think my own suspicion is that there was probably significant internal pressure within the FBI among his own people to bring this out. That there were probably many people within the FBI were unhappy with the way he handled the vindication of Clinton, and probably felt, certainly within the structure of government, there are many people who take this whole classification thing extraordinarily seriously, and they do believe that there should have been more sanction against the Clintons or against Hillary Clinton for the casual use of a private email server. So he may have come under internal pressure within the FBI.
But he's in charge, though, right?
He's in charge, yes, but when you're in charge of an agency like that, a lot of your authority does rest on the sort of general cooperation and understanding of the people you're leading, and he may have felt that that was eroding and that he needed to show them that he was above board, that he wasn't trying to simply help the Democrats when he went out earlier, that he was willing then to show that there was still part of this investigation when this material on the computer came up.
Yeah, it's just a tough situation. The way I feel about it is I think he was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. And he was in a pickle one way or the other, and he might have tried to find a middle ground, but everyone's reacting to it differently. So, all right, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, more of your phone calls. You want to jump in? What do you think as we stand now, less than a week before the election, and some of these new revelations, where you stand and your support of which candidate? The number 737-7587. Back with more right after this. Stay with us.